It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. We're back live on the Big Mountain.
Welcome back to the Big Mountain. We were off for a week, but we are back ready to rock and roll. It's the end of May, Steve.
Yeah.
We've got a plethora of items on our topic list. A lot of stuff going on right now. I am going to be dropping throughout the episode. We have multiple interviews, discussions that we're going to be doing over the next week and a half. Some big names coming up on the Big Mountain.
Love it.
I'll be dropping them as we go through here. I don't want to give it away here at the beginning. That's not fun. We got to tease. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tease. If you're new here, we usually start with the Big Ten. We let Steve go first. That gives our Western folk and Mountain folk a little more time to get in here. We know it's 8:30 on the Eastern, but it's only 5:30 out there in the Pacific. So we like to give all of our PAC and Mountain West fans a little bit more time. So we usually start with the Big Ten. I see we've got a lot of great people in. Some of our old school mountain dwellers, if there is such a thing, after less than 2 years. But we like to think they're old school mountain dwellers. OGs, JEH and DJ and Justin, another Poke fan. Big news coming from the Pokes. They commitment quarterback Tim Hasselbeck's son, who's in high school. He's got his senior year yet. He's a 26 commitment. Taylor Hasselbeck, quarterback, 3-star, committed to Wyoming today.
Love it.
Very excited about that. We'll have a lot more Mountain West stuff going on. We got Phil, that college football guy. Collegiate athletics advocate is back. That's awesome. We got an NIU fan. Day one, Rob. Good evening, gentlemen. Gilbert helping me out. He showed me a tweet from today about the Mountain West. Apparently, I'll put this out there right now. They gave a little tease. It looks like tomorrow we are going to get the Mountain West football TV schedule dropping tomorrow. So I don't know what time, but we should be getting that. Probably something we'll talk about next week.
I think so.
Yeah. We got Mario back in here. That's awesome. Brad's in the house. Phil, he's asking, are we usually late? We like to be a little bit late. Just a few minutes, because it can give people a little extra time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so usually a couple minutes, but nothing too major. Hopefully that's not a problemo. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Steven Levinson is here saying hello. Drop some chats in there. We always like to talk with our mountain dwellers, and Matt is here. What's this say here? First 3 weeks of the TV schedule comes out tomorrow. Boom, 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 boom. I'm excited. Got some big games. All right. So, like I said, we're going to start with the big. Steve, you've got big recruiting, Michigan president, switching gears here. You've got Ohio State versus Texas. And then, according to this, our producer's going to refill my beer.
Ooh.
Or in this case tonight, water.
All right.
I love it. So let's start with the big. Then we're going to get to the PAC and the Mountain West mediation. We're going to get to my trip to Texas State. We're going to talk about all the hubbub about the CFP that's going on right now, making all kinds of noise. And I want to say, is this CFP a distraction from what's really going on? We'll talk about that later on. But let's start with the big, Steve.
Yeah, so I wanted to throw up the On3 national recruiting rankings right there. These are the industry rankings that On3 does, where they average all the different brand services and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of point out where some Big Ten teams are doing, where they're landing, and also maybe point out a couple teams outside of the Big Ten that I was surprised about that I wanted to bring up. So first, right away, USC. I was a little surprised there. Number 2, they've been having a great recruiting season. They've been on fire. I think they actually recently lost a big commit. Before that, they were on track for one of the best recruiting classes in history. So they're right there at number 2. We've been tough on USC the last couple years, haven't quite lived up to expectations. But they're still firing. There's still obviously a lot of confidence from players in that program, and they're in a great position, out there. So USC at number 2, Ohio State at number 3. Not a surprise there. They pretty much finish in the top 5 every year. Oregon down there at 7. I was slightly surprised by that. I really thought they'd be in the top 5. I mean, they're still 7 is a good spot to be in. Anything in the top 10-ish, is real great. Yep, you got something.
I got something on Oregon.
Okay.
And I'm sure is not updated. Shout out to Sierra Nevada Sam, one of my awesome followers on X. He shoots me a lot of good info. He just showed me some information here. The 5-star DE Richard Wesley just decommitted from Oregon 17 days after he had committed, and Dan Lanning apparently jumped into the pool to celebrate that
I remember that.
Yes, that he
Jumped in
landed
the
him coming to Oregon.
Yes.
So 17 days after Dan Lanning jumps into a pool, is that super risque, jumping into a pool? But anyway, a big celebration. The dude decommits 17 days later.
Well, and honestly, that's the pool that Oregon is swimming in right now. That the Ducks are swimming in. They're in there. They're fighting for not just. They came onto the scene basically fighting for that California talent, and they did a great job of getting the California talent, the Polynesian talent up there. But now they are in that pool of national talent, fighting against Texas, Georgia, all of those kind of programs. So, where they're at 7, I mean, they're doing well. They have a great budget there. So the next school I see there in the Big Ten is Penn State, just out of the top 10 at number 11. I know they have a big recruiting weekend coming up. They have a couple 5-stars that are going to make decisions. So Penn State fans, I'm sure, would like to see them up in the top 10 with the group that they feel they belong in. And then Michigan,
Sorry,
right,
Steve, I'm scrolling.
Yes, you are right there at 19. Michigan, right there in the top 25. They're not, maybe where they were a couple years ago, fighting for the top 5, top 10. But they did get Bryce Underwood last year, the number 1 recruit. Trying to, follow that up with another top 15 class to kind of get back to where they were. Now, so those are the Big Ten classes that jumped out at me. I did want to point out a couple other classes. A school that you've been following pretty closely. It looks like they're at number 17, SMU. Joined the ACC last year, had a great season, ran the tables, in the ACC. And it's, in the new era of NIL and money, they have a big booster that came in and is paying that oil money. And so to see them up there in that top 20 with all the big players coming off a CFP appearance, that just jumped out at me. And then right behind them, Arizona State. Fantastic season last year in the Big 12, makes the CFP. They have a bright future ahead of them, and so they're up there. Oh, and I forgot to mention one other Big Ten school in the top 25, Maryland.
I was going to mention you forgot good old Maryland.
Maryland, yeah. And actually, is Iowa in there as well?
Yeah, they're at 22.
Okay. So a couple more Big Ten teams, Iowa and Maryland. Iowa, they're more of a developmental thing. You don't usually see them in the top 25. They develop their talent. And Maryland, from what I understand, they signed a big recruit, a 5-star recruit that a lot of people were expecting maybe to go to another. So if they can hold on to him and get that top 25 class, maybe they can be back in it, back into contending, at least being respectable in the Big Ten again. Anything jump out at you? Any comments there?
So the first thing I'm going to say, I want to go down line by line here and see if there's any. But the very first thing that stood out to me, and you brought it up, Arizona State there at 18. The only school in the Big 12 on this list. No, not the only school.
Kansas is
down there. I'm sorry. Not the only school. But the highest rated Big 12 school on this list, I should say. Interesting as, they were picked to be maybe last or close to last in the Big 12 last year. Have a phenomenal season. We all know about their coach. He's doing, making all kinds of news. He's really enthusiastic guy, and that's what you're seeing a lot more of. I think these younger, super enthusiastic characters. So that was in terms of teams. Just looking at it, maybe the first thing that stood out to me, honestly, was Arizona State. I think SMU, they've been working on this. They've got the money. So that didn't really stand out. But the Arizona State definitely stood out. And, you look at the top 10. Is there any surprises in the top 10? Not really, for me. No. I mean, maybe USC being at 2 is interesting. But, they're all big boy schools.
I would have thought maybe USC and Oregon would have been flip-flopped.
Sure. Right. Yes. I can understand that. But, again, being in the top 10, and even the next 5, not really a surprise. Nope. Penn State, Tennessee, Texas, Ole Miss, Auburn, not really a surprise. Nope. Then you kind of get down and it may be a little bit more interesting, especially that last line, your South Carolina, who's up and coming, but strong recruiting class. Iowa, you talked about them. We talked about Arizona State. Then you have your Maryland. Wow, Maryland has a top 25 recruiting class. So I would say some interesting schools there towards the bottom. Top 15, no surprises for me at all. But good stuff.
One last school I wanted to mention, an ACC school, Louisville Cardinal on there. Jeff Brom has done. He really had Purdue going. He had them in the Big Ten championship game.
Yep.
He goes to Louisville. Had a couple pretty solid seasons. Maybe not CFP seasons, but solid seasons. He gets Miller Moss, the transfer in from USC, who I think is very talented. They ended up, after the season got away from them from some close losses, they end up switching to Jaden Maeva. We've talked about that a lot. But Miller Moss, I think he's very talented. It could do really good with Jeff Brom's program. So, if we see them put together another class and have some success on the field this year, that could be an up-and-coming program that really nobody talks about on the national level as far as being a CFP contender.
Cool. Couple shout-outs here, Steve, and then you're going to go to, I think, the Michigan Preds?
Yes.
Shout out. We've got Mario telling us what he's drinking. No, I lost it. Where'd it go? He's drinking, Wiseacre Sky Dog from Memphis Brewery. He's out there working for a few months. I'm jealous. Sounds delicious. Have one for us. Let's see. We've got Love Muscle in the house. It's the foot long and then some. Mm-hmm.
David Jorgensen said he's talking about Texas Tech was buying more recruits. I think the thing with them is they're on that same path as SMU. They're just a little bit behind. They're getting that money machine cranking up.
Sure.
I think they've spent some in the portal.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll have some results from Texas Tech.
Yeah, no doubt. You're seeing some comments. Carson JEH rumbling. CDS is in the house. Dan from UK, our buddy, drinking in the UK.
Cheers.
They need to have a Guinness glass on X or on, I don't know, whatever this is. YouTube. What are we on? Yeah, thank you. All right, let's go to our next topic, our next Big Ten topic, and that's some changes at Michigan.
So we've talked about this for a while. This has been a recurring theme.
Can I time out for a second?
Yeah.
I'm noticing, because we kind of watch our live shows as we're doing this, and we've got some...
Commercials
popping up. I apologize. I may have set a setting inadvertently.
Oh.
I did that.
Okay.
And I hate it. And I apologize. It won't happen again. I thought I was setting it for after we were done recording. I was trying to be proactive on some things.
Yeah.
Fail by JY.
Yeah, well, we'll change the setting.
We're not here for the money and stupid commercials.
I thought YouTube had just infiltrated us.
You thought they thought, well, I got to get a piece of this
Yes.
TBM. All right, here we go. Sorry, I just saw it pop up. It's like the second or third time already. I'm thinking, what the Sam Hills?
All right, so let's talk about this Michigan president.
Sorry, go ahead.
Who's now the University of Florida president. He's been officially approved and accepted. We've talked about this for a while, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is that ongoing Michigan Wolverine saga, the cheating scandal. We've talked about how the fan reaction and all of that.
Yes.
And I think about a month ago I had told you, one of my contacts said basically President Ono found it was untenable to stay at Michigan because the fans and the boosters were at a point where they were not going to accept any kind of compromise, any kind of admission of guilt. Mm-hmm. And because he was there at the time, he was going to have to move on. And part of that was his own statements and his own words. When all this came down, he was basically, we will fight this till the bitter end. We are innocent. We will fight on the land, air, and sea, burn the boats, yada, yada, yada. And now I think the writing is on the wall that everybody realizes they're going to have to take some kind of punishment. We'll see what that is.
Yeah.
So I was reading a Michigan forum today, Wolverine 247, I think, and one of the quotes on there was "rats fleeing the sinking ship" or something like that. So you still have a lot of Michigan fans that are like, no, this is nothing. They're not going to do anything to us, whatever. But you're starting to see that turn in the narrative now. We have the president leaving. He's getting out of Dodge, going to Florida, which a great job, great position from him.
Sure.
For him. But it does just kind of feel like that narrative of the rats fleeing the sinking ship. We had most of Jim Harbaugh's coaching staff leave.
Yeah.
We now have the president of the university leaving. So it's just something that I wanted to bring up as just part of that overall story. I don't have anything new on the Michigan front.
Sure.
Everything is really, really quiet right now, which usually leads you to believe that something big is going to happen when everybody goes quiet. Yeah. So we'll see. I think in June they are expecting the next step, the next round, the official notice of allegations to hit and all that. So, maybe we'll be in that transition period now because a new leader can come in and basically blame the old
Absolutely.
staff. That's always easy to do. They did it. They screwed up. we're going to move on. We're going to take this punishment and just move on because they did it, and we're going to run things better now.
Well, and you said it's like the worst. What is it? The worst issue that the NCAA can have. Issue is not the right word, but the worst.
Their highest violation is lack of institutional control.
Lack of institutional control. So now, you get the head coaches gone.
Yep.
You get the president gone. They can say, hey, that control was them. We're going to change it. We're the, come in and do-gooders.
Yes.
And whether they are or they aren't, doesn't matter. It sounds good that those problems with the old, and I'm not saying, please, I'm not saying this president did anything wrong or even knew anything about it. That is not what I'm insinuating. But the new president, the new whatever's, way easier to blame somebody else.
It's easy to just clean house and start fresh. So that again, it just goes into the narrative. Normally, presidents leaving is not such a big topic. I mean, it happens all the time. But I just thought it was interesting to bring up as part of that story. The last thing I want to talk about with the Big Ten for this week. So there's been this narrative. There's been this talk about Fox Big Noon pissing everybody off. Penn State fans were mad because of the whiteout. Ohio State fans are mad because half their home games every year are on Big Noon. We've talked about that a lot. Well, they had an opportunity to rectify this. Labor Day weekend, we're going to see Ohio State host Texas. And Fox actually agreed to move this game from Big Noon, put it on primetime Sunday night because Labor Day weekend, there's no NFL. We usually see some awesome Sunday night games or whatever. So Fox was all for it. Everyone was agreed, and Texas had a kind of right of first refusal and said, nope, we're not going to do that. So or Ohio State, you can't blame Fox. You can't blame anybody else for this. You can just blame Texas and maybe you want to take that out on them on the field. But I think it's a little bit of a shame because we had an opportunity there to see a really cool marquee game in prime time. But it'll still be a huge game, massive game for Fox on Big Noon kickoff Labor Day weekend. But it kind of goes into that again, deflates that narrative a little bit that it's only Fox doing this. No, there are other powers that want these things to happen. Texas doesn't want to have that big night game there. So Ohio State fans got to blame Texas on that one.
There you go. And I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
They're always looking to blame somebody. Not just them, anybody.
They'll still probably blame Fox too.
Oh, I'm sure they will. No doubt about that. I mean, honestly, do you really blame Texas? I mean, that's a day and a half almost later.
Yes.
Then, I would assume they play the following week, so you're shortening everything by a day, and, I don't blame them.
Yeah, I don't blame them. And also, I mean, honestly, too, if you want every advantage, right? You would think, I know for me, so as a Penn State fan, the whiteout game, we want our biggest opponents to come play us for the whiteout, nighttime game, primetime game. The crowd is rocking, it's jazzed more than for a noon game. So you think that just gives the home team a little bit of advantage. And Texas is like, no, we're not going to just give you this extra advantage. We'd rather play you at noon when half your students are just still waking up because they were drinking the night before. I mean, really?
Hey, preach it, brother.
Yeah.
Preach it. All right. Well, hey, thanks for the update on some of the Big Ten stuff. A lot of stuff going on. And we're not going to get into any of the governance stuff today with NCAA. We are going to transition right now to some CFP information. I want to talk a little bit about that. But I will say this will be the first time I'm going to drop a guest.
Okay.
As we know, Ross Dellinger, one of the premier college football reporters, he has agreed to come on the Big Mountain next week, Steve.
Okay.
It won't be on the live show, but it will be a discussion with us. We want to focus mostly on governance, quite frankly. We'll talk CFP with him as well. But, he's one, and there's several others, but, he's one that I rely on, I trust, I follow very closely. We get some of our talking points. I'm going to use some of his tweets on this show here tonight. But Ross, he's very busy covering the SEC and the other ongoings this week.
Yes.
So, but he has told me he is available to us next week. We'll get that recorded. We'll probably get that out towards the end of the week. So, continuing with, bringing on some pretty big names here, and he's going to be one of several that I dropped this evening.
Yeah, a couple things obviously awesome to have him. He is the name to follow. He is the reporter of record for college football. I personally think part of the reason he has over 1 million followers on Twitter is because we've been plugging him on the big mountains so much. We've gotten so many of our mountain dwellers to follow him. But no, another cool thing about Ross is he does so much reporting. He's one of the few guys out there that's not behind a paywall. Works for Yahoo Sports, not behind a paywall. Good point. Yeah, which is awesome. Like he's a man of the people.
Yes. So I'm going to say hello to some people. We've got Hard Rock and Trivia. He's saying he loves the show. Well, we appreciate that. We like people that enjoy the show. It makes it way more enjoyable for us when we have engagement with all of you. So thank you. John Grove listening from Manhattan, Kansas. August 23rd can't come soon enough. I agree. We're less than 3 months away, and we're going to be ramping up here real quick into our predictions, previews, all that kind of stuff.
Do you know what the nickname is of Manhattan, Kansas?
I have how would I know that?
The Little Apple.
You serious?
I'm serious.
That makes sense.
John Grove, shout out to the Little Apple.
Little Apple. That's, if I was actually using my brain this evening, that actually makes complete sense. I saw a question. Oh, Steve asked about the Utah schools, UVU to the Big West. I don't have any update on that. I do believe UVU is most likely to go to the Big West. If you heard the conversation we had with Commissioner Butterly there for the Big West, he did say more was coming. He did not tell us this, so please, this isn't coming from him. I have a funny suspicion that once Sacramento State's football gets approved as an independent, I believe the rest of their school will go, the rest of their sports will go to the Big West. I think that's one. I think UVU is likely as well to go to the Big West. So I think there's two potential ads coming to the Big West probably within a month. I know Sac State's hoping they get their answer here in the month of June. So if you're a Big West guy or any just interested in Western realignment, pay attention to the Big West. Dan Butterly's super impressive conversation.
Really awesome. So Mario asks about if there's any Memphis Tigers fans present.
There you go.
I don't know if there is, but I will say we've talked about the Memphis Tigers quite a few times. I personally believe they are one of those programs. We've talked about why they didn't go to the PAC if they had an opportunity. It sounds like they did have an opportunity or an invite. We've talked about some reasons maybe why they didn't go to the PAC, including what I think is a big reason is it is kind of understood that they have a potential invitation to the ACC. They will be in that next round when the ACC is expected to lose some programs.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, that's a big reason. If the PAC made them a great financial offer, maybe. Sure. But for them, they're biding their time, from what I understand, because they believe they have a spot in the ACC in the next wave of realignment.
Okay. Jeff Walker's in the house. I know he is a Bobcat fan. Eat 'em up is right. We're going to get to some more Texas State goodies at the end of the show here, so stick around if you can. Love Muscle asking about Gould. Will she be coming on the show? We have requested that. I have been in contact with the PAC. I think there is interest. But we all know right now she's not going on any show.
Until they get some stuff.
Until we have some announcements from the PAC, we're not certainly going to be hearing from her. Nobody's going to be hearing from her. But absolutely, when there's news on solidification of, the mediation, the membership, the media rights, all that stuff that everybody's waiting on for the PAC, maybe July, I don't know. We will reach back out to Gould, but we have had back and forth communication on that. As we all know, now's not the time. She's not going to come on. Gloria's not going to come on right now, being in mediation. They're just not going to talk to anybody. But yes, we do. We would love to have Teresa Gould, PAC commissioner, come on the big mountain at one point, and hopefully for our PAC fans, JEH and everyone else, Squeeze Money, we have a whole bunch of PAC fans, we can make that happen.
And we've seen, you and I have followed all of these legal cases, from the PAC to the ACC, Florida State, whatever. We've seen where a commissioner, an athletic director, a president talks to the media about something, and then that public quote given to the media is used in a filing, put in an official court record. So it makes sense. If you're involved in mediation, a legal thing right now, it makes total sense not to come and say anything that could hurt your case.
You're welcome, Steve. Just saying about the Utah schools could impact the UAC, the United, 100%. I'm really wondering what's going to happen with the USC football, with the WAC, and everything that might be going on there. That's really gotten quiet right now as well. So I totally understand where you're coming from there, and certainly we'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm sure we won't be dropping it. I know we won't be dropping it, but we'll be reporting on it when and if anything happens. Yes, mediation is still going on. I'm going to get to that after we talk about the CFP. So let's get to it. I know I got off on a bit of a tangent here on some other things. I love the back and forth with the dwellers, though.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just fantastic. So I have a poll. I put a poll out here today, Steve, and I knew what the poll was going to tell me, but I did it anyway.
Okay.
Because, people are out there saying these changes to CFP are needed, and the reason we need some of these schools in is for viewership, and viewership equals revenue. And if you don't get the right schools in, you're not going to get as much revenue, and it's going to hurt everybody. Well, it's not going to hurt everybody. It's going to hurt the Power 2, because that's where most of the money is going. So I ran this poll here. We'll throw it up real quick. And I just asked, personally, you are dwellers that follow me on X, what do you think should be the priority for the college football playoff? And I listed maintain viewership, a.k.a. get as much revenue as you possibly can. That's what that means. Or maximize, not maintain. Maximize viewership. The second one was delineate access, a.k.a., give people spots because they're the Power 4, basically. The next one was power consolidation, which kind of goes with, they're kind of similar, 2 and 3. And then, of course, the one with 73% of the vote, Steve. Maximize fairness.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're going to do.
Well, so here's the thing with maximize fairness.
Okay.
The word fairness has so much ambiguity.
That's why I put it there.
Because everybody loves the word fairness.
Yeah.
Everyone
Be
wants
fair to me,
Yeah,
damn
be
it.
fair to me. Well,
Yeah.
no, be fair to me. No, be fair to me. And so that's such an open-ended thing. It doesn't surprise me that everybody voted for that. Because it does. And so Greg Sankey's been on a lot this week.
Yes.
And so he thinks maximizing fairness is making sure that the best teams, so what he views the best teams, have the best chance to get in.
Does he? I think he thinks getting as many SEC teams
Well, he
in.
thinks that SEC is the best.
It's fair to the SEC.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Whereas
I think we all know what I mean by maintain fairness.
well, we may know what you mean, but other people who vote for it may mean something else to them.
All right. Well, I'm making you do the poll next time.
Okay, all right.
By maintain, I totally understand what you're saying, but what was meant by that was literally, let's just freaking rank them, and the top 12 get in.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and now maybe you have a couple AQs for the top 5 or 6 whatever conference winners. Right. Other than that, though, it's just whoever gets in gets in. So, and we're going to get to some of this later.
Okay.
So.
All right. Because if people think that was the most fair way to do it, just on face value, if they actually saw how the results were, they would be like, "Oh, that's not fair."
Well, they all hate the CFP committee.
Yes.
Which then you would say, well, I want it to be fair, but I don't want to use the committee because they're not fair. Well, then what is fair?
Exactly.
So yes,
That's
it
the
is.
problem.
It's a conundrum.
Yep.
So let's keep going on here. So Dellinger, as I mentioned earlier, hopefully he'll be on the mountain here in a week. So he put out something regarding the Big Ten and the SEC. They're in deep discussions. This was earlier this week. Deep discussions on a 16-team playoff with that 4-4-2-2-1 format. We've talked about that. Everybody's focused on that 16 team. I know when you kind of talked from your source at Penn State, you were pretty confident in a 14, maybe less confident if we'd actually get to that 16, here in 2026, I guess it would be. But, all the hubbub here over the past month or so has been this, 4-4-2-2-1 format. So that came out. Let me go through these slides because it kind of goes through the last couple days, and then we can talk about it. So slide number 2 here is Sankey here a couple days ago. He says, yep, the 4-4-2-2-1 format, and this I think might get to the point you were going to say earlier, could actually cost the SEC. If they're doing 4-4-2-2-1, that could limit potentially SEC or Big Ten. Of course, he's talking for the SEC. But if they have enough schools where they could even get more than that, 4 could potentially be limiting the number because they're giving, teams to the Big Ten. We all saw what happened with the ACC and Big Ten in terms of the number of teams they got in and where they even were placed. I mean, hell, Boise was 3 this past year. Yep. So I think that's what he's probably talking about there. So then the next one comes from Heather Dinich. And our good friend, Big 12 Commissioner Yormark, he throws a complete monkey wrench into it.
He usually does.
Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And his comment here, and this came from Heather, he says he prefers And his league, I should say, his league prefers the 5+11 model. He says that has always been the Big 12's first choice. 5 and 11. So 5 is, your top 5, really your A or Power 4 schools and your top G5 conference automatically get in. Then 11 is just blam. You put out whatever that, it is what it is. Per the who is it? The committee.
Yes.
All right, then we move forward. The next one is, after your mark says that, now we hear that the coaches of the SEC actually like the 5+11 model as well. The coaches are like, yeah, we want to figure it out on the field. Yeah. We want to determine it on the field
because they think they'll get more teams.
Because they think they're going to get more teams. So the SEC coaches are with your mark. They think the 5+11 model, pretty good model. Then last slide. This one talks about the SEC athletic directors. They're not with the coaches. They don't agree with their coaches. They're not so sure about the 5+11 model. And it's because, like you were going to say, your commissioner and your ADs, well, your commissioner and your presidents, they're honestly they're business people.
Looking at bottom
lines. They're looking at bottom lines.
Yes.
Your AD's kind of in between the business people and the coaches people. They kind of see it both ways.
Coaches
they just want to get their team in. Coaches, yes.
We just win, baby.
We'll do it on the field.
Yep.
Do it on the field. Practice? We're talking about practice?
Yep.
All that kind of crap,
yep.
right?
Playoffs.
That's the one I meant.
Yeah.
Playoffs. So just two different mentalities, looking at it two completely different reasons. But I wanted to lay it out because and this is over the past 48 hours. All of this stuff comes out, right? So let's talk about that, and then I'm going to shift gears just a little bit about all of this. So, what are your thoughts on this?
All right. So first of all, as dwellers know,
yes,
I was on vacation last week. I was at the beach, pina coladas and Coronas, and not much Twitter or anything like that.
Yes.
So I went back and I went through 10 days of Ross Dellinger's tweets.
Yes.
Okay, as all of this was going on. He did a breakdown, and you don't have that in your slides, he did a break. Well, it was a little farther back, probably.
Oh, okay.
He did a breakdown of a 16 team if they did the straight seeding. Like if you just said, we'll go by the straight seeding, this is what you get, which comes out close to the 5+11 model.
I was going to put that slide on here.
Okay.
I think that actually came from Sankey, and he retweeted it.
Well, he did.
Did he do it?
He did a breakdown. Okay. He did 3 different breakdowns of different models and how it would come out. So in a 16-team straight seeding, where there was no AQs,
yes,
the SEC and the Big Ten would get between 5 and 6 teams every single year. Mm-hmm. So more than in the 4 model.
Sure.
Notre Dame would actually now they had some down years,
right?
If you use the historical data over the last 10 years, they would get in the playoff every other year.
Okay.
And the G5 would actually only have someone in the playoff once every 3 years.
Sure.
So that's where I said the fairness, like when people see the word fair, they're like, oh yeah, fair sounds good.
Yeah.
But if you did it that way, if you considered that way fair, it would actually really hurt the G5 especially, because instead of getting a guaranteed every year, they would be only getting one every 3 years based on historical data, and the SEC and the Big Ten would be getting extra. Now, the thing about the ACC and the Big 12 is they're right in the middle, so it doesn't really matter to them.
Sure.
They could get more,
yeah,
and maybe that's where your mark is at.
Yeah. But
they're basically getting about 2 on average anyways.
Sure.
So they're in the middle, it doesn't really matter. So that's where my point was, the fairness, it sounds like a good word until you look at, well, if this model is fair, what's fair to everybody? Now, and then when you take into, there is an SEC bias. So if we just go by rankings, the 100%. Rankings have an SEC bias.
Yes.
Who are they put out by? ESPN. We've talked about this. ESPN is fully invested. They have the ESPN network. They are fully invested in the narratives. We saw this last year. ESPN personalities, 24/7, beating the drum. The SEC needs more teams in. There's also, we've talked about this, there's an East Coast bias. For whatever it is, we've seen this in Heisman voting over the years.
Yep.
If you're in the Eastern time zone, especially, and even Eastern and Central, you have a bias. The reporters know more about you. The media knows more about you. The fans, you have more interest in you. It's just the way it goes. East Coast bias, where the Western teams get they get the downside of that. Mm-hmm. So how do you really determine what is fair? That's the biggest problem, and that's where we're trying to find a system. Everybody wants a system that is fair. Now, I will say I have one last thought on the motives of the SEC and the Big Ten.
Okay.
So your premise was that the reason they want the certain amount of teams was for viewership. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been following along pretty closely. Tony Petitti, the Big Ten guy, he doesn't say much.
No.
Greg Sankey is out there.
Yes.
But from what I understand, these are their real motives, and we talked about this before. When the SEC Big Ten meetings from ADs, the Big Ten really wants this scheduling agreement with the SEC. They also want the SEC to play 9 games.
Right.
So the SEC is basically saying, we already have a tough schedule. If you want us to play 9 games, make our schedule harder, and you want us to play the Big Ten, making our schedule harder, we want some certainty. You know, if we're going to lose 2 more games per year because of a harder schedule, we want some certainty.
Yeah.
Tony Petitti, from what I understand, so we talked about, he's a TV executive. He's not a college sports guy or you know, he wasn't a president of a university. He wasn't an athletic director. He's a TV executive that became a major conference commissioner. He wants to expand revenue streams and possibilities, which is to create these play-in games.
Yeah.
So if they have 4 automatic spots, now instead of just having a Big Ten championship game, they can have these other play-in games to decide 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
And they look at that as another revenue stream.
Well, I get all that, but I don't understand. Doesn't the 511 why doesn't that work for everybody? Like the data, you just said the data shows that the 511 would actually help.
Yeah.
The Big Ten and the SEC. But the SEC, isn't the SEC like the main one driving the 4-4-2-2-1 model?
Yes.
Isn't that Sankey that's like banging that drum the loudest?
I think both the Big Ten and the SEC want it, but Sankey's being more vocal. Petitti, we haven't heard jack from him. We've not heard. They had the Big Ten meeting, so we didn't hear anything from him. But I really think that the reason they want it is those play-in games we were just talking about.
Okay.
And you can only do that if you have the guaranteed 4.
Right,
so what they're talking about is 1 and 2 play each other, and then 3 and 6. I think it's 3 and 8.
Right.
4 and 7, 5 and 6.
Right.
So if you have those guaranteed spots, they play each other and get those spots. They're looking at it as another revenue stream. They want to make more money, just like that was what the conference championship games were originally back in the 90s.
Well, and it is very much the 4-4-2-2-1 model might, as he said in his tweet, cost the ACC maybe one. What did I say?
You said ACC.
Yeah, the SEC. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The 4-4-2-2-1 model could cost the SEC a spot.
Right.
But they'd be willing to give up the spot if they can do 9 conference games, which is going to get more eyeballs.
Yes.
Scheduling agreement with the Big Ten, which is going to get more eyeballs, and get the SEC more money.
Yes.
And potentially these play-off, play-in, whatever you want to call them games, which is going to get more money. So
it's all money.
But this is all spin by Sankey. Like, I shouldn't say it's spin. Yes, it's going to cost you, but what are you getting for it? You're getting
more money.
From all these other games that you're not
guaranteed
putting in
revenue
this tweet.
streams. Yes.
Yeah, goofball.
Yes.
I shouldn't say goofball. He does his SEC conference really, really well. So, all right, let's check some notes here real quick, and then we're going to go to the mediation. I have a couple things on that. Where'd we end here? We are right here. Okay, there was Eat 'em Up Cats. Joe, what? Go ahead.
DJ says fairness is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, there you go. Sounds like you.
Yeah.
Can
I add one more comment?
DJ said that comes to 13. Yeah. So the other 3 would be at large.
At large, yeah.
Right. There's 13 AQs and there's 3 at larges. But yes, go ahead.
Honestly, I think the major problem behind all of this is conference realignment. If we would have stayed with a PAC that was healthy, and a Big 12 that was healthy with Texas and Oklahoma in there, I think that this would all be a moot point. But the problem that's exacerbating this is we keep consolidating more power and more money in the Big Ten and the SEC, which people say they hate it, but what gets the big ratings? When we do an episode about college football expansion, realignment, whatever, that's what gets the big ratings. That's what's happening. But that's what's making the problems for the CFP. Everybody loved the playoff last year. I mean, think about those first round games. having Boise in there, that fight at the end, between UNLV and Boise for that spot. You had some other teams, Tulane, Army with a chance.
Yeah.
Everybody loved the playoff. What we don't love is figuring out who's going to make it because of this unfairness, and the bias and the unfairness keeps getting pushed because of this realignment where more money and more power is being consolidated in the Big Ten and the SEC.
So before I get to the mediation, I have a question. So we had Dan Butterly, Big West Commissioner, on about a week and a half ago. Dropping another name, we've got the Big Sky Commissioner coming on with us. I believe we tape with him Monday, if I remember correctly. I'm going to get his comments, see if they're similar to Butterly's or if they're a little bit different than Butterly's. But continuing our focus kind of on the new governance, how it's affecting some of these smaller non-football conferences, at least for the Big West. Big Sky has football. But do you think, Steve, that all this CFP ruse and all this smoke that they're making out of the CFP, do you think maybe some of that's a distraction from what they're actually doing with the governance? Because Dellinger's doing well doing the governance, but it doesn't get much play. I mean, we do governance stuff, and it gets some people to view, but man, they'd rather talk about 4-4-2-2-1 than 3-5-6-7-8 versus that. Do you think it's a distraction that's planned, or you just think it's, hey, this is what viewers and people want to talk about, so that's what gets the press?
I think a big part of it is I wouldn't say distraction. I think it is a real negotiation.
Yeah.
I think that the P2 is trying to fight for what they want. Those middle two, the ACC and the Big 12, are trying to fight for what they want.
Yeah.
And so it's a negotiation that at the end of the day, as long as everybody gets their piece of the pie, I think everybody will be happy. So I don't know if I don't think it's a ruse as you're suggesting, but I think where you're onto something is the real power play is not the CFP stuff. The real power play is what no one's talking about, which is the governance stuff. I think that's a big part of it. And that really goes into, and what I asked, people should watch that episode with Dan Butterly. It was fantastic. He got down to the nitty gritty. He's one of the few people willing to actually talk about what's really going on.
Yeah.
And it's a power play. And honestly, the top four, the A4, could leave and just go do their own thing at any time. And so this is they want to have their autonomy, they want to have their power, but how much is the bottom half or whatever, bottom 2/3 of the lower, less power, less revenue schools, how much are they willing to accept to still be a part of that top group, and vice versa?
Sure.
And I think that's where the real power is being decided, and the media is not talking about that at all.
So one last thing, collegiate athletics advocate asked, do you guys see the possibility of CFP using a computer model to determine seeding, rankings, yada, yada, yada? I'll let you go, and then I'll give my thoughts.
So I was tweeting about this today with Immaculate. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Because he was saying, what is Sankey getting at? Because Sankey was talking about coming up with the most fair way to do this.
Sure.
Now, in the age of the BCS and the Alliance, we had the computer models, and everybody said they hated them. Everybody insisted they hated them. Even the Mountain West
They still used them.
They still used them.
We used them 2 years ago.
We used them 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And if you're the fans of the team who got in using that, you loved it.
Yep.
The ones that were left out, I think, was San Jose State. They hated it.
You got
it. So I think we have some better computer models now, but the funny thing is two of the best ones are owned by ESPN, who again has a financial stake in getting as many SEC teams as they can. So I'm going to say probably not, because I don't think people are going to like that any better than a subjective human committee.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the last year's CFP. There's always going to be one-offs. FSU, I think, will probably be brought up for forever when we have this CFP committee, is, you're on one side of that or not. And I'm not going to go down that route. But I think last year they did it. It was perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think they made one mistake. I think the teams that got in should have got in. There was only so many AQs. They used the model that they were given, and I think it worked the way it was supposed to work. And I'm still under there. Why are we changing anything after 1 year? I don't get it. I guess if you want to add more teams, we can add more teams, whatever. But until it's drastically broken, I'm not sure what we're fixing. That's my opinion.
And that's something we didn't bring up is we're talking about the 2026 and going forward.
Right.
One thing we didn't bring up is while we were on vacation, we were out of town traveling, they actually changed the 2025.
They did, yes.
Got rid of the what is it, the buys, the
Yes.
automatic conference champion buys,
Right.
and went to a straight seating model.
Right.
Which
I'm fine with.
I'm fine with as well. Yeah.
I got no problem with that. You got to, as we've always said, just a chip in a chair.
Yes.
I don't give a crap where the chip and the chair are. Just give me a chip and a chair.
And honestly,
You got to beat them anyway.
the straight seating model really, and I looked at it. It made for some better matchups and gave some teams home games.
Yes.
That they didn't have a home game in the other scenario, and we saw how valuable having those home games were.
For sure. Mr. Ed is in the house. Got to meet Mr. Ed down at Texas
all
State.
right.
I'll get to that. Sergeant is back in the house. Good to have you here, sir. Let's get to the mediation between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. We know they're in mediation. Started last Monday, and I have a couple slides to go through here, Steve. The first one here, these are going to be some posts I put on X. So the first one, just told everybody that yesterday it was reconfirmed to me that the mediation is still ongoing as of yesterday. So I can't speak of today. I'm not going to bother this person every 24 hours. But I did reach out, very high level source, and said, is the Mountain West mediation, Pac-12 Mountain West mediation still ongoing? I was told, yes. As far as I know, yes. Still ongoing as of yesterday. So that's item number one. I was also told, different source, but was also told today that they got a lot of work done over the long weekend. They were working on it over the weekend. So now, if they worked every day, I don't know if they worked on Memorial Day or not, but they're pushing probably about 8 days here into this mediation, 8 or 9 days into this mediation. I'm going to get into maybe why things are taking a little bit longer here in a minute. All right, second slide that I had here. I put out some dates of interest here with the Mountain West. I put this out today. Of course, we know June 1st. We've been talking about June 1st. I don't think many people are talking about June 1st. It's really surprising to me because it's a really important date in the Mountain West bylaws. And yes, the bylaws are a contract. Again, Steve, what's a contract?
The first step in the negotiation of settlement.
There you have it. But still, it's still the first step.
Yep.
So it's in the bylaws. It's in the contract. Also, one thing of interest is that the conferences have a summer meeting coming up. I looked back over the Mountain West summer meetings here recently, and the Mountain West meetings usually happen in early June, kind of the first week of June. So, this is all lining up. Mediation's ongoing. You have that June 1st. You've got the, I would assume, the regularly scheduled summer board meeting of the Mountain West coming up here probably within a week or maybe two. And it would make sense to me. I would certainly hope they could have a settlement done before that meeting so they can move forward with real planning, real voting, real decision making, having the right people at the table and the people that don't belong at the table, not at the table, all that kind of jazz, totally figured out. They can solidify grant of rights. They can solidify media rights. They can solidify future membership. There's a lot of things that they still need to get figured out here. So I think there's just the stars are aligning around this June 1st, not just because of the bylaws, but lots of things going on. This June 1st date, I think, is really important. So another slide, this will be the third slide that I have for you. I put out today just things that I believe are maybe taking this mediation a while. Like I did a summary on Monday, did a couple different reports. One report was from a San Diego, or was it the San Diego newspaper or the UNLV? I think it was the Las Vegas newspaper. That basically were just like, well, this is taking a while. That must mean they're talking about a merger. And I'm like, no, that's not necessarily what it means. And quite frankly, I would be shocked if that's what they're actually talking about today in mediation. So why could this be taking longer? I think, there's 5 different parties in this lawsuit. You've got the PAC, the Mountain West, and 3 different schools. It's 5 different parties. You have 2 different lawsuits, poaching fee exit fee. You have 3 public entities. Are 3 of the 5 entities are public entities. That creates more dynamics.
Layers of approval.
Trust me, we both know it takes longer.
Yep.
You have 2 different fees to mediate. So yes, it's 2 different lawsuits, and they have different fees that they're talking about. One's the exit, one's the poaching, and that poaching is a novel penalty. Like, it really hasn't been done before. So what are the actual damages, if that's what they're talking about? That might be a little bit hard to substantiate and justify. Of course, we know what was put into the agreement, but the PAC's going to be like, what's the actual losses? They might say it's 0. Well, the Mountain West would be like, well, our actual losses are X, and they have to come to an agreement on that. And they're starting from scratch. There's nothing to use on that.
No precedent.
No precedent at all. And then, so that's all the things that we know. Then there's things that we don't know, like the membership certainty or uncertainty certainly is at play. I mentioned the UNLV sitch. I mean, if I'm the Mountain West, I'm bringing to the table, we're going to settle this, and you're not touching any of our members, moving forward for the next, you can't do it for forever, but you know what I mean? Like, we're going to settle it. UNLV stays, Air Force, all that gobbledygook about that ain't going to happen. You might as well just put it in the settlement, move on. So that's what I mean there about that membership uncertainty. And then the other one that came to me here just a few days ago is, this is rumor, I'll call it. Okay, I'm not going to say this is sourced at a high level, more rumor. But as we know, the PAC has the PAC Enterprises, it's production arm now. They're not a network anymore, production arm. And I'm hearing there could have been some interest, or could be some interest, having the Mountain West utilizing the PAC Enterprises. I find that interesting. When you look at the poaching fee versus the PAC Enterprises, instead of a cash payment, is there maybe services involved here? So I don't know if that's going to happen, but that was brought to me. I found that somewhat interesting. So anything on that, Steve? Then I have one more slide, but I wanted to kind of lay out why this might be taking a while.
I think the fact that they've been in mediation this long is, to me, is only a good sign. Generally, when there's not going to be, they meet once and, okay, we're too far apart, this isn't going to work. So I think it's a good sign. And I also think it's a sign of that they're working on both parts. I've seen speculation they were just going to work on the exit fees or whatever and settle the poaching thing separately.
Yes.
To me, it's been so long, and you brought this up on Twitter X, that Gloria has said she wants a global solution to this, or global settlement, basically fixing all the problems at once. So I think it's a good sign. The one thing that I think could be a real sticking point is that membership. I think the dollars they can figure out. The membership certainty thing, I think, is going to be a tough row to hoe. Because you're basically you're just setting yourself up for, again, in 3 years or whatever, the potential for another battle like this, and having to settle something. And there could be like UNLV might say, well, we don't want that to be part of the agreement. We want our flexibility. So whatever. I think that part might be a little bit harder, but I agree with you on I think the dollars and cents they can figure out. Well, this is what our damages are. This is what we want. This is what we want, and come to a number. And the fact that it's taking so long is a good thing.
Agree. I keep telling people that. Some people on X, it's none of our dwellers, but this means that they're super far apart. And I'm like, no, if they were super far apart,
they would have met one day.
Walk the hell away from each other and be like, ha ha ha, we're out of here. See you in the courtroom. So yeah, it's clear that a settlement is coming, I think. I mean, again, the longer this goes, it's clear to me that a settlement is likely. So the last slide I have here, maybe it was something I already said. Let me just look at my notes. Oh, just timeline for this. I did something I should never do. I did, for a podcaster, you should never do this, but I put out a timeline, Steve. And the timeline I put out, on the pod that dropped on Monday was, I said, I think we're going to get news by June 4th. That's 1 week from today. I picked June 4th for 2 reasons. One, because all news happens on Wednesdays. We see that all the time. But 2, if June 1st is really kind of the deadline, like, for it to go through the motions, we talked about public entities. We talked about trying to finalize this. I'm just because they agree to a settlement, say, on Friday, I don't think it's going to be publicized right away. It could take several days until we're made known, until it's made known. I think June 1st is super important. I think it needs to be finalized. I think whether it's not, maybe it'll be finalized June 2nd, but they're going to use June 1st as kind of that date. And then I think we hear. So that's not sourced. That's JY speculation. I think within a week, by next week, I think we're hearing something. That's where I'm at.
What I'm really interested in is the possibility of, if it's going that well, did they come out on the last day of the month? What is it? The 30th, I think.
Yes, 31st. Saturday's the 31st.
Okay, so which Saturday? So let's say we get an announcement. I wonder if this could happen. Just kind of thinking out loud. Friday afternoon, the 30th, we get a statement. Hey, we are close to a settlement. We're gonna work over the weekend to finalize the agreement, and we'll vote on it next week and everything. And so which could line up for your Wednesday.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll hear anything this week or not. I think my understanding, and I shouldn't say my understanding. There's nothing getting out. I mean, there's literally nothing getting out. Again, the date I put out, that's just based on where we're at here at the beginning of June, what we know these deadlines to be. That's why I said June 4th. But I totally agree. They're working. I feel like it's getting closer. And the fact that we were told, I think it was it JEH that asked me? I don't know. It was one of the people on X were like, do we know that they're still meeting? I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're still meeting. I'm like, I'm going to ask. Yeah. And so I asked, and they got right back to me. And like, to my knowledge, everybody's still meeting as of yesterday.
And here's the thing too: we keep seeing such an adversarial. Even when we see it in our messages. Yeah. Gloria has gold in a headlock. Blah blah blah. We keep seeing this adversarial stuff. It's very possible that when we come out of this, especially you just brought up the possibility of the Mountain West using some of the PAC media resources or whatever. Yeah. They may end up having similar. They may have joint media partners. Yeah. Fox, CBS Sports, whatever. We may end up coming out of this where the adversarial relationship is completely gone. Yes. And there's more of a partnership, or just coexisting together. So which is going to be interesting because so many of the fan bases have taken this like, my camp versus your camp, my village versus your village, and all of that might be gone in a week.
Agree. We got Stingers up in the house. We've got Casey saying, hi, everyone, go Rams. All right. Awesome. Who else we got? AAR. Kyle, we're getting some go Pokes is right. Talked about the big recruit commitment today. Hasselbeck's son, Taylor Hasselbeck, committed to the Pokes today. Who else we got? MBM. We got... what is this?
Do we have any Broncos fans? Have you seen Broncos fans?
Go Buckeyes, baby. National champs. Right. Whoa, hey-yo, there it is. Go get some, Buckeyes. What do you ask for?
Any Broncos fans?
Broncos fans.
Oh, we got a super chat.
I'm getting notice. All right, we'll go down to that. Real quick before we get, what does it say? I would like the Mountain West to get what they feel is fair. I personally would like to see membership locked in, but I see Steve's point. Go Pokes. That's what matters at the end of the day. Ride for the brand is damn right, Justin. And I agree. I think, fair. Totally agree. I mean, I'll be the first to say they're not going to get 130. Right. I think I said that from the very beginning. Anybody, I did a poll, and again, you get the emotions to it. They should get 130. Well, you're not going to get 130 in a settlement. A settlement means you're settling for something less than what you're owed. And what 140, 145, whatever the number is.
If you're trying to get 130, you're going to get that in a judgment where you win your whole thing.
And then and they pay your lawyer fees on top of that. But anyway, yes, let's just be fair about this. I would love to see membership locked in for now too. Like, let's just get this over with. In my opinion, we know who the PAC's going to add. In my opinion, at least for the 8th football member, and the Mountain West has already done what they need to do. I think they have more coming. I strongly think they have more coming, but none of that's going to happen until we get this damn thing figured out, and then they can both go on. And I want to do hashtag stronger together.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway. What do you think about Just Justin's comment? I think Just Justin rules. Yes. He's always given us a $20 super chat. Go Pokes.
Yes. And here's the thing with the Mountain West is, and he says what they feel is fair. We talked about this earlier. What is fair? Fairness is in the eye of the beholder. I think if you're a Mountain West, if I'm in the negotiations and I'm in the Mountain West, I want enough that I can ensure my viability going forward. Keep my promises I made to UNLV, Air Force, whoever, so that I can have a strong conference moving forward, and basically, mitigates any financial damages that I may have received, and be strong moving forward.
Yep.
So,
totally agree. And there was one thing. Mario says San Diego State's AD needs to learn to keep his thoughts close to his vest. Yes, he does. I just saw a new video from I think it was from last night. He was speaking again about all of this. Now, I will say he did well. He was very vanilla with his comments yesterday. Positive about the Aztecs, but not throwing out dates and all that kind of crap.
Was he talking about realignment and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah, he brought up mediation, and he talked about when the meteor he talked about all that.
Honestly, there is no and we've interviewed some ADs, and we've asked these questions. However, there is no reason an athletic director should be talking right now about the mediation, about the realignment, any of that stuff. There really should not be.
I don't think he can help himself. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean to the guy. I literally don't think he can. Rumblings. Look what he says.
Steelers suck. They do, honestly, and I hope this year they suck worse than everybody else and get the first pick in the draft next year and draft a real quarterback.
Congrats, Hard Rock and Trivia Show. Son is going to Boise State in the fall. That's awesome.
So so he brought Boise State up. I tagged you today in Twitter.
Yeah.
Boise State has one of the top 15 quarterback recruits in the country. I forget his name right now, but he's going to the Elite 11. I mean, that could be. We talked about some other things, the transfers that they had gotten, whatever. But getting a big time recruit like that that's going to the Elite 11 finals, like that could be a program changer. And they don't really need to change their program because they're already great. But that could be just to take the next step in that program. It could be awesome.
Brady Moon's in the house. Go Broncos. He's a Bronco fan. Okay. You asked about Bronco fans. Right. Okay, John's a Denver Bronco fan.
Yeah, okay.
You asked for Bronco fans. Let's be honest. Good call, John. Eat 'em up, cats. Well, hey, eat 'em up, cats. Let's get to it. I think that's our last thing, right? Did I miss something?
Texas State. I can't wait to hear about this.
Let's talk about the Texas State visit. All right, so I've done. Before we get to that, I want to say one more thing about Mountain West.
Well, I want to say JY has kept me waiting on this Texas State visit.
You were on vacation. I didn't want to bother you.
I asked him earlier. Didn't you have to wait till the live show to hear about it?
Didn't you see my episodes?
A little bit.
Okay.
Between cervezas and pina coladas.
Real quick, the last thing with the Mountain West, you can keep Texas State up because we're going there next. GCU. I did that a couple weeks ago. I said I've strongly felt like GCU to the Mountain West 25-26. I think the first thing the Mountain West does after a mediated settlement is announce GCU. That's what I think they're waiting on the settlement, and then I think we all know what has to come from the PAC. I think the first thing that comes from the Mountain West is GCU.
I like it, but I'm not hearing Tarleton State, Sac State, and North Dakota State.
That'll come later on.
Okay.
This is GCU a year early.
Yeah.
That's good. That's juicy.
Well, I want it all. I want it now.
Give it to me. Well, let's give you some Texas State Bobcats. I'm going to go through a couple slides. Had a great time. Don Coryell showed me around. Also been in contact with President Damphus. I read him. I'm a hockey guy, and I look at his name, and I go, that's Damphus. And he told me some people used to pronounce it Damphusset.
Oh.
And I like Damphusset. He's like, yeah, but my grandfather changed it to Damphus. And I'm like, that's not nearly hockey, as cool as hockey. But he's Canadian. He plays goalie.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, they say Damphus now.
Damphus.
They have great leadership there at Texas State. It was great to meet. I didn't get to meet personally. Didn't meet the president. Got to meet AD Coryell. Showed me around. Before we get to the Texas trip, I got to give a shout out to a dweller.
Okay.
So I've been, I was posting for several weeks that I was going down to Austin and San Marcos, and I got somebody reached out to me, Chris Thompson.
Yes.
He was a former assistant AD at Texas State, now works at the Yeti headquarters.
Yes, I saw.
He asked me if I wanted to come, and I'm like, yeah, I'd love to see the Yeti headquarters. Not the store downtown Austin. I'm talking the Yeti headquarters, where the crap gets done.
That's awesome.
Where they figure it all out.
Yeah.
So I met him there. He showed me around the entire 2 buildings that they have. Beautiful scenery out back. Showed me all the levels. I got to see where they were testing stuff and where they do their branding. And I saw the dark room where they produce stuff. I saw it all. And he gave me a goodie bag. I got some Yetis.
Yeah.
He gave me this shirt. So thank you, Chris. If you watch this, thank you. Got your shirt on today. Had to wear it. First time wearing it. And it was great. So shout out to a dweller. Got me some Yeti swag. Of course, I passed off some of our TBM swag to him. Not nearly as cool as what he gave me, but I did what I could. And so actually, we do have slides. Sorry. Thank you, Producer Bakers. So there it is. Slide 1. Slide 2 is me and Chris together. They had a big bear. I'm like, well, let's get a picture with the bear. I don't know if the bear's got a name, but it's me, Chris Thompson, and the bear in the Yeti headquarters. Good old dweller. And it was awesome. Spent about an hour-ish there at the Yeti headquarters. And then slide 3.
The bear, I remember they used to do this marketing thing where like the bear would try and smash the floor.
I think they take the bear places, he said or something. I don't really know. Okay, and then the third slide, I gave him some stickers. Okay. And they had a wall. They had a Yeti wall with different stickers. You know, some schools on it, so all kinds of stuff. But now we're on the Yeti wall at the Yeti headquarters.
The big mountain.
There it is, with Yeti right underneath. I mean, that's like, what do you call that when you put two that's like a partnership.
Synergy.
There it is.
Brand synergy.
There it is. Okay, so let's get to
the mountain.
Yeah, let's get to some of the. I got a couple new pictures that weren't on my other videos. I think I have a couple new ones here. First thing, I went to Herbert's. Got to give a shout out to Herbert's. I sent something. I said, where should I go eat? Where should I go eat? And the overwhelming majority told me, you need to go to Herbert's for lunch. So I went to Herbert's for lunch. And it was fantastic. I got the queso. Everybody, you got to get the queso. And so I went in and I told the lady, I said, I don't know what I want. I just want to order something that gets me queso. Okay. She said, well, you want this. And I said, perfect. And it was phenomenal. And it sat well with me. Sometimes, you never really know, but it sat well.
Did you have some cervezas with that? Queso?
I did not, because that was pre-meeting Dawn. Okay, all right. I need to be of my full,
gotcha.
What do you call them?
Mental faculties. Yeah.
Lord knows my faculties are half 50% anymore. So I needed to have me at full 100% faculties. Anyway, so shout out to Herbert's. All right, so I'm going to bust through some slides quick. First one here, or the next one, outside at UFCU Stadium, phenomenal. It's beautiful. Like, I loved it. It's like, it's not brick. It's what do you call that? Like almost stucco-y stuff.
Okay.
I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there is some like brick to it too, but it's really nice outside. Then the next slide shows you just the panoramic of the inside. And I didn't get a good view of the home side of the inside because we were in that big structure. He's taking me through the different areas there where they, the AC places, places that some people can't get to.
Gotcha.
He was showing me around that. But then on the one end, they have the new construction that they got going on. So we went down there. I think that's the next slide. They added on to there was already a building there, but they added a building kind of in front of it, and that's mostly a weight room. And then they took the weight room out of the old building and they made new team rooms and all that. But they made a walkway that now goes the whole way around. So usually that was kind of opened. There wasn't an elevated walkway. Now there is. You get great sight views from there, bar stool stuff. Yeah, it was cool. So we stopped there for a little bit. And then he took me over to what I think they call the party patio. It wasn't quite finished yet, but it's going to have some, what do you call that? Like fake grass?
Yeah.
Turf.
Yep.
That's just got some viewing areas. Again, party patio. Yeah. I can only imagine the type of parties we're going to have here during Bobcat games. And then up above that, you can't see it very well, but above that there's a second terrace, and it's an interior, interior area, more executive-y like, you know what I mean? So
that's been the trend with these fancy stadium upgrades, is not just to add seats like used to be back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s was we need to add capacity. Now it's how can we add fancy areas, party areas, suites, executive areas to bring in more revenue, and it's smart, and add to the fan experience, give fans premium experiences.
That's exactly so there's two pieces of this. It was, let's make our football infrastructure better, weight rooms, training facilities, hydrotherapy, team room, all that stuff, which is in the building. And then exterior to what you're saying is all that kind of, again, it's not seating. It creates more of that experience.
Yes,
like it's
premium fan
fan experience. Yes, so it's really, really neat. So then the next, let's see, what did I have? Oh, then the weight room, which I showed you downstairs. So what they're going to do now is they're going to run out of the weight room right onto the field.
That's awesome.
And I didn't get a good picture of that, unfortunately. I should have. That was one that I missed. But you could see how they have everything kind of delineated. That they come straight out of the weight room onto the field. And then my last slide, very important slide. I had a meeting with 2 dwellers. I got to meet, I know Mr. Ed's in the chat. I met Mr. Ed. I met Rick there. We sat on Ivar's patio right beside the river.
Nice.
Had a few cervezas.
Nice.
And we just chatted for about, I don't know what it was, 2 hours? It was a while. We
Very
chatted
nice.
for a while. It was a good time. Glad they could come out and say hello. And yeah, so that's what do you got questions?
You got to meet some dwellers in the wild. I mean, that's awesome.
That's right. Dwellers in the mountains. But it's a very cool experience. They were awesome to me. And
So which one's Mr. Ed?
Mr. Ed's on the left
Okay.
in the hat.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Ed has the hat.
And on the right, you said it's Rick?
Rick, yep. He's a Pac-12 fan.
Okay.
He's a Pac-12 fan, so he had his Pac shirt on.
Who does he root for?
Well, he roots for the Bobcats, but he
Okay.
also is just, I think he's a Western football
Gotcha,
fan.
gotcha,
Yeah,
okay.
overall Western Pac football fan. So that's why he has the Pac shirt on. Yeah, I said on X, I think I said, very important meeting today or something like that.
Yes.
Because I did.
Oh, yeah,
I was
okay,
With
that's what
2
it was.
dwellers is what I meant.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the Pac-12.
And I think
Why would it?
I think it's awesome that we continue to see that out in the eastern half of the country. Like, you're a Penn State fan, or you're a Tennessee fan,
Yeah.
or you're a Georgia fan. But I've noticed more in the starting from Texas and over. There's more of this. Okay, that I have a team or 2, but I just love Western football.
Yeah.
I love Mountain West football. I love Pac football, whatever. Which I think is awesome out there, and we see that in our dwellers a lot.
Yeah, a little more regionalized than it is just specific school. And they certainly like their school. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But yes, a little more regionalized.
Like I like Penn State, and all the other schools could just die. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Okay. I don't think I have that feeling for many football teams. But that's okay.
Hockey,
I do.
Every
That's
other
true.
team
That's true.
you love the Capitals, and all the other teams in the Metro could just die.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's get down and see if we have any people asking me any questions from my trip. Where were we at here? Okay, we talked about that. There's your Steelers.
Someone gave a Bison shout out.
Oh, there we go. NDSU in the house, North Dakota State. Well, you brought them up. Oh, we got a JCB bringing up Tarleton State.
Yeah.
There we go. We're getting all the dweller schools
Absolutely.
shouted out to here. There we go.
I just got to say, I wanted the Mountain West and the Pac to merge for
Yes.
the longest time, and it seems like they're not going to merge at this point. So for me, let's go all out. I'd love to see Tarleton State, North Dakota State, Sac State, even South Dakota State. I think could be some fun.
You're
football.
not messing around, that's
Nope.
for sure. What do we have here? I saw best college town in Texas. San Marcos, Texas State, really neat town. Total college town. Beautiful. That river area is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool. The water is crystal clear.
Yeah.
It comes out of an aquifer.
Yep.
Right, and it roads down the thing.
I was looking. I didn't see any pictures or videos of you doing any tubing.
I did not.
Oh,
I did not. I'll tell you what. I was there for probably 9 hours.
okay.
And I was moving, man. I honestly didn't quite get to do everything I wanted to do.
Because you were staying in Austin.
I was staying in Austin. Yeah, so I was staying in Austin so that I did the Yeti thing in the morning. I think I got down to Herbert's there around 12:30. Then, till I drove around and then had to meet Don at, when did I meet him? At 1:30, 2 o'clock? And then I was with him till about 3:30, and then I was doing my meet and greet at 4:30. I just ran out of time. I wish I could have. I wanted to get around campus a little bit more to get more pictures of campus, and I just couldn't do it. I had to go drop off some goodies at President Damphus's office. So that was something I almost missed doing that, and I had to do that.
So I work with a guy who's from Texas, and he actually lived and worked in Austin for a while, and was San Marcos.
San Marcos.
San
yes.
Marcos. And we were talking about it, and him and I had gone to a conference in he had gone to a conference in San Antonio. I was supposed to go and didn't go.
Okay.
But anyways, we were talking about it, and I asked him how it compared, and he said, well, San Marcos is basically what San Antonio would be if San Antonio didn't suck and smell like an armpit. So it sounds like San Marcos is a pretty great place.
I have never been to San Antonio, so I cannot comment on the smell of said area. But I did enjoy San Marcos. I'm getting an update on hockey here. Appreciate it. Panthers just scored 2 quick ones to tie the game at 2. I am blown away how much Carolina is sucking in this series. And the Panthers they're able to take it to a whole nother level. So, well, I'll probably watch the end of that game. Let me see if there's any other questions about Texas State. We have a lot of...
Wyoming, there's been discussion about Wyoming playing Oregon State. I think
Yes.
that'd be a fantastic series. Absolutely. And I think there's a good, again, once we get past this settlement and past the animosity, I think there's a lot of good opportunities for the new version of the Mountain West to play the new version of the PAC and keep some really awesome, keep some rivalries, or also start some new games that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, so Mario, stay tuned. I have an update for Lobo fans. I know you're a Lobo fan. Hang on, we're going to get to it in a minute. Buc-ee's. John asked me about Buc-ee's. I ran out of time. I was told where to go.
Oh, man.
And there's actually a really big Buc-ee's being built in San Marcos. I think there was one about 10, 15 minutes away from me. And I ran out of time. I couldn't go there. I've never been to one.
I've been to 4 different Buc-ee's. They are amazing. They have the best.
I don't get it.
They have the best bathrooms you can ever. I'm serious. Like,
Okay.
and I guarantee you.
Do they
John,
have what do you call them?
So you go in and you don't just have a stall. Like, you have an individual like room kind of thing, and you can eat off the floors if you want to.
No.
So the bathrooms are really nice, but the food is fantastic. The brisket, and whenever a new fresh batch of brisket comes out, they have like a cowboy guy that yells, "Yeehaw! Brisket's ready!" or whatever. But they have brisket burritos, brisket tacos, the pulled pork. The food is amazing at Buc-ee's.
Blasphemy! Sorry, John. I literally ran out of time. My dwellers told me where to go, and I couldn't do it.
Well, they're coming up our way. They built one in South Carolina and North Carolina. I think they might be building one in Virginia now.
All right, they're saying Buc-ee's hype is real.
It is.
I've never been, so I kind of like, what the hell are you people talking about? But man, y'all say it's pretty legit.
I have a Buc-ee's hoodie. I will wear it our next live show.
All right. Well, let me see. Oh, look. Hard Rockin' says there's a San Marcos in California. Cal State, San Marcos. San Diego area. There you go. I wonder if they call it San Marcos or San Marcos. I feel like California would call it San Marcos.
Yeah, maybe.
But Texas calls it San Marcos. Fortunately, I was given that little tidbit before I went down. There it is, Kevin. Buc-ee's are the best. Chicken Express. Phoenix is getting a Buc-ee's. I'll tell you what, they're going nutso. All right. Well, hey, we'll wrap this guy up. We're getting close to 10 o'clock.
Buc-ee's is the most popular topic of the show so far.
No, they love everything that we're saying. Well over 100 people. Thank you, dwellers. Clearly they missed us.
Yeah.
Or clearly we just had good items today.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of both. So my item on New Mexico, the Lobos. We have Director of Athletics, Lovo, joining us on the mountain. So I've been able to drop 3 different interviews tonight, Steve.
Awesome.
We got Lobo AD Lovo. Say that 10 times fast.
That's a
Lobo AD
10%.
Lovo. We've got the Big Sky Commish, and we've got Ross Dellinger lined up, and I may have another one that we're working on. So yeah, I go in waves, Steve. I go in waves.
I
keep you busy.
Yes, for sure.
So, hey, with that, thank you guys so much. Just hit that like button or that up button, whatever the hell that is, on your way out if you like what we're doing here. We thank you guys for joining us on live shows. Interaction with you in the chat is honestly the best part of all of this. I think we're going to have to, here in the near future, sometime in June, have another call-in show.
Yes.
That seemed to go over well. I think people would like for us to do that again. So we'll try to do another call-in show here maybe in a few more weeks. So, okay. They told me San Marcos is with an O in Cali. I knew it.
Marcos.
I knew they would have an O in Cali. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that. Appreciate all you guys. With that, hey, we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.